Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Popcross Studios about Zoophiathan's Domain. The Fear of the Demon Hunter, Episode 10. Let's hop in.
Previously, on Fear of the Demon Hunters.
Oh yeah.
During a brief battle with the Predator Coalition of Demon Hunters' most famous member, Kushmara Naroi, Vivian Sabraya's ally, the Archangel Capri, teleported the former Demon Queen, Fear herself, aka Arava, and fellow Demon Hunter Jax away.
That's
this
right.
was intended to keep Kushmara from taking Arava to the RAS Foundation to rehabilitate her there themselves. Viv was left behind with Mara.
Yeah, it's just kind of skipping a step is all. They need her right now.
In the snowy Colorado campgrounds, but Mara finally relented and allowed Viv to keep Arava with her, as long as she promised to be careful and watch out for any deception. Mara gave Viv a multiverse-jumping wristwatch, like one that had been given to the Predator Coalition's leader, Tamika, to get in contact with Mara or her other multiverse-traversing allies. Mara left soon after, and Viv was ecstatic with how that experience had gone, as she'd been able to use the Demonitrix to summon the power of a deceased demon general, Sori Eklis, to hold her own against Mara. Unfortunately, before Viv could even put on the watch she'd been given, the animal demon general, who Viv and her allies have been hunting, Zoophiathan, appeared behind her. He hurled her watch away and gripped her around the mouth. He was displeased that with Sori Eklis' powers, Viv was able to temporarily take command of all dinosaur demons, who have now started working under Zoophiathan. He's done playing games and sending his minions after her. Zoophiathan is ready to finish Vivian off himself.
Time for the big dog.
Let's see if he succeeds in the next chapter of Fear of the Demon Hunters. Zoophiathan expected Vivian to kick and struggle as he held her off the ground, gripping her around the head. Panic had briefly taken her upon his arrival, and Viv felt the familiar swell of fear churning up inside her. She knew that was exactly what Zoophiathan wanted.
He wants to feel.
At this point in her journey with the Demonitrix, she had no problem with a little fear. She didn't struggle. She just stared and grinned. Zoophiathan pulled her in closer.
Are you smiling under there? Your eyes are doing that smiting sort of shape. Pretty masochistic of you to be happy when you're about to get picked apart piece by piece, dumped into a bowl of melted snow, then devoured like cereal.
I mean, you did just save her and her team the effort of hunting you down.
Viv gripped his hand and pulled herself up just enough to release her mouth. Maybe you're right. The Demonitrix glowed green, and her arms started cracking and shifting back into a dinosaur-like talon. I break limbs and tear skin every time I transform. I do it daily, sometimes multiple times a day. I'm so used to it, the pain does almost feel kind of good. So maybe I am a bit of a masochist now, which means you've got nothing to scare me with. And from one demon general to another, when you have a dangerous enemy in your grip, you should probably do everything you can to finish her off quickly.
Yeah, don't monologue.
Viv's skin up to her neck started bubbling and shifting into scales. Zoophiathan squinted at her.
You really are a twisted little freak, huh? But you're no demon general. Not in my house, anyway.
Zebra-like tails sprung out of Zoophiathan's back and wrapped around Viv's arms and legs and waist. He released her with his hand, raised her up with the tails, and a midnight black hole opened in the ground beneath her. Zoophiathan chuckled.
Remember to kick off your shoes before you stomp snow all over my nice carpets.
Viv was dropped into the hole, and all light completely vanished around her. Even the Demonitrix stopped glowing, and Vivian could hardly feel anything at all. She grabbed her shoulder and realized she'd stopped transforming. Suddenly, her legs buckled beneath her as she hit a soft, uncomfortably squishy, furry, moist ground that she still couldn't see.
Now that's
She stood up quickly but smacked her head against something hard. A pulse of light suddenly burst from the object she'd hit and swelled through the skeleton of a massive four-legged creature looming over Viv. A pair of veiny eyes appeared in its skull, which leered down at her as it lumbered away and dimmed back to blackness. She stumbled backwards, tripping on the mushy floor like she was treading across a half-filled waterbed. She could feel the wet fur of the ground starting to creep up her legs as if it were trying to bind her. She had to keep moving to prevent that, but every few feet she tripped and sloshed against the shifting ground. She saw a light in the distance and ran as best she could towards it. Her legs felt like they were moving in slower and slower motion the closer she got to the light. Her stomach twisted in knots as she kept trying to transform but felt no change in her body. She kept letting all the fear coming up pass through her as she did every time she used the Demonatrix, but for once she wasn't sure she could keep up with it. Some demons could slow and alter time. If Viv was in a realm where Zoophiathan had control of time, it could be the equivalent of days before Coppery returned for her. She kept moving towards the light, but the closer she got, the louder a buzzing sound all around her became. Her heart thudded against her chest like it were trying to escape. She finally got close to the source of the light and saw that floating all around her were more glowing bones. These were detached from any creature, but there were moose and lion and elk skulls singing and muttering to themselves.
Home is where the dark is. The dark is where I'm home. Home is where the flesh is peeled and where we'll die alone.
Well, that's
the
just
muttering,
grim.
floating lion skull drifted towards her and she batted it aside. As she did, Viv inadvertently let out a yelp, seeing her arm. It was formed from crawling, scuttling hornets that moved across her enough for her to see that only her blood-stained bones were beneath them. She fell back to the ground and violently swatted at
Oh, that's what this is. Okay.
her arms, trying to knock the hornets away, but that just made them swarm up around her. A dozen flew straight for her eyes. She wanted to close them, but realized she had no eyelids, or at least no control over them. Stingers aimed right for her pupils. Time suddenly seemed to stretch on for eternity as the stingers got closer and closer and closer. They started glitching away, then coming closer still, leaving Viv with no idea when they'd actually strike.
Oh,
One
that is
finally
terrible.
just grazed the skin of her eye when Zoophiathan's voice bellowed.
Oh, how rude of me. I haven't taken your coat.
A massive hand formed from zebra tails emerged from the ground before her. It gripped her stomach and tore away the hornets in a wave. It pulled them into the ground and vanished in a ripple of shifting furry floor. Viv looked down at her body and saw that it had returned to normal, though instead of her usual jacket, she was in a neon green shirt and shorts that seemed to be emanating from the Demonatrix, still firmly planted in her shoulder. She stood up, wobbling back and forth on the ground, and tried
Hey, at least the Demonatrix has some courtesy to give her clothes.
to transform again, staring at the green gem. It sparked and flickered, but she couldn't feel its power. It still wasn't working. Viv kicked her legs, keeping the fur from crawling up her, then noticed a sound approaching. She looked out across the floating bones and saw dimly lit by them was a swarm of humanoid mutated little frog people running towards her, holding forks and spoons.
Hey?
Devour the flesh. Eat her bits to bits. If she makes this hard for us, we'll gut the little...
A venomous
Whoa,
needle suddenly struck the
okay.
closest frog in the face. Viv had fired it from her palm, now taking on elements of a demonic form she hadn't used in a while. One she didn't need the Demonatrix for. Insect wings burst from Vivian's back, and she flew up off the ground. She fired needles from her palms at all the coming frog creatures. She flew higher and higher, well out of their reach. They hurled their forks and spoons at her, but those did little more than bounce off her. Viv felt like she had more control now, but also knew that feeling couldn't last very long in here. Her head struck something soft and moist, and made her eyes shut ever so briefly. When she opened them, she was upside down, hovering just off the ground, with the frog creatures charging immediately in front of her.
Eat the eyes with veins intact, still seeing in our digestive tract.
Viv flipped over and started to fly away, but hit hard against a giant, furry head. She backed off a step to see a sloth-like demon's face emerging from a mound in the ground. It grinned deviously at her, and light rings burst from its eyes towards her. Suddenly, Viv was moving so slowly that she could barely tell she was moving at all. She felt a frog thud against her back, then another and another, scrambling across her body. She tried to raise her arm to swat them off, but she could barely move an inch before one of the creatures was clutching her ear to hang in front of her face. It spun a fork in its hand and grazed it across her jaw, up her cheek, tearing her flesh until it was just below her eye.
Scoop, scoop, scoop.
That's got a huh?
It chuckled far too eagerly. More and more thuds hit Viv's body. Despite her slow movements, her flesh shook. Every hair across her body was on end. Her heart struck her ribcage like a charging bull. And she loved it. A laugh suddenly burst from her mouth. Doing so made Viv realize she could move at full speed again. She snatched the frog creature off her face and stared at it. "This is a rush. I haven't felt any overwhelming fear like this in a while. But is going for the eyes really the best you can come up with? Viv chomped her teeth around the creature's neck and ripped its head off, spitting it to her side. As soon as she did, the other frog creatures burst into...
Now I wonder, is this how most of the demon generals are actually made? Like they're thrown into some domain like this, and if they can survive it, of course going insane, and do they then become a demon general?
white ash and floated off her. Viv's heart raced and she started laughing even more. Do you really not get what it takes to control the Demonatrix, Zoophiathan? Most people resist their fears and that just makes them worse. I've embraced mine. When they rear their heads, I invite them in to stay for a while. That usually makes them go away pretty quickly to a point where
Yeah, give them
I
a
sort
cup
of
of
miss
tea.
them now. Getting to be here with some more persistent fear is a nice change of pace. But if you're going to keep it up, you need to do better than making me move slowly and attacking me with weird little frogs and hornets. I've seen inside the minds of dozens of demons now. I know all the tricks. You're not bad at this, but right now, the scariest thing in this place is me.
Oh.
She fired a barrage of demon needles
Yes.
into the ground as she kicked the fur off her legs again. The sloth's head suddenly formed once more and came towards her. Before the rings emerged from its eyes, she shut her own and leapt towards it, shooting even more needles. She heard it moan in pain and opened again. She had pierced it right through its own eyes, and they were now firmly shut. She grabbed the top of the demon's mouth with both hands and stomped her feet onto its lower jaw. She tore upwards with all her strength and ripped open the beast's maw. She fired more needles into its open throat. It gargled and shrieked, then melted back into the floor,
It drowned on its own blood.
Viv knelt down and started to rip the ground, tearing away chunks of wet fur and slime. The whole floor rippled out around her, and a piercing shriek echoed from it, tearing into Viv's ears. Blood started dripping from them, but still she dug. Finally, a hole opened beneath her, and she fell into it, spiraling once again into darkness. She spread her wings and flapped, stopping in the middle of an empty void. There was a moment of nothingness, until
look.
finally, a looming figure appeared in the distance. He marched towards her slowly, wagging his zebra tails in twitching patterns as he growled and chuckled through his hippo lips.
I didn't realize taking over so many of my little friends had so royally cooked your brain, human.
Yeah, that's a
Maybe you're
downside.
real demon now, after all.
Viv flew closer to him and landed on a stony ground that she could barely make out. She kept marching forward, thinking to herself, "My turn to scare you, Zoophiathan." She spoke. "Oh, I am. I've felt it for a while now. I've got the heart and soul of a human, but the hunger of a demon. I keep it in check out there around other people, but in here..."
You know what? I think it's official. Vivian here has officially become our local devilman. And if anyone has seen that anime, not the live-action movie, though that is kind of half-decent, if you've seen the animes, then let me know. Well, because Vivian is pretty much that now.
Where it's just you and me and whatever
To a degree, of course, because again, if you've seen the anime, you know.
delusions you cook up for us, I can finally cut it all loose and be as twisted as the demons I've possessed. Even my own fear is delicious to me now. Better yet, the unique smell of fear that spills off a demon just as they realize their prey was more predator than they were. It's better than any perfume on the planet. Viv stepped right
I'm
in front of
loving this.
Zoophiathan and stared up at his grinning, toothy maw. She continued, "You brought me here thinking I was the meal, but I'm gonna slay and devour you, Zoophiathan, and I'm gonna do it slowly, so I can get every ounce of fear out of you I can. Then, I'm gonna kill every other demon general and drink in all the fear they've brought into the world through them in their dying moments. If you could have taken the
jeez.
Demonatrix from me, then you would have by now, so you'd better accept your fate, Zoophiathan. You wanted to kill Arava to take her role, but with the Demonatrix, I'm the real Demon Queen now. And as your new master, I'm relieving you of your position."
Oh, this is
Even
awesome.
without the
This is
Demonatrix
awesome.
working, Vivian had never felt more powerful. Unfortunately, Zoophiathan just grinned even more widely and said sarcastically,
The new demon queen. Duly noted, your majesty.
A familiar battle cry echoed around Viv, but it wasn't one from a demon. Zoophiathan suddenly turned into a swell of smoke and drifted off. Flying through his body came a glowing, white blade.
Oh, wait, shit! We know exactly who has that white blade. I want to say Clayton. I'm terrible with names. I know the guy, I'm terrible with names. I think it's Clayton. Or Clayton.
Book
Yes.
out now. Bonus
Book is
never
out.
before seen art, gods, monsters, action mythology, adventure story.
Great
Good
book.
Buy it if you want.
Great
This
book,
is a weird
buy
tone
book.
to go with for the ad given this episode, but I'm torn between not enjoying doing the same advertisement over and over again and also wanting to sell book. So linked in the description. Get book if you feel like it. Back to more Fear of the Demon Hunters.
Yeah, book!
Before Viv could react, the weapon carved into her
Yeah, this guy. I believe his name is Clayton.
arm. She barely winced, but saw a spurt of blood fly out of her as the weapon's wielder rolled across the ground behind her, leapt up, turned, and aimed his sword at her. His white hair was clear, even in the amorphous, shifting black void around them. Zoophiathan, get back here, you coward! How many illusions do I have to fight before you face me yourself? He lunged forward and swung his blade at Viv. She thought she stepped back far enough to avoid it, but the weapon's end carved a gash across her stomach. Clayton, stop! I'm not an illusion. It's really me. It's Vivian. He looked her up and down. Maybe, maybe not. Honestly, I hope it is you. If you're really calling yourself the new Demon Queen, then getting to kill you is gonna make my career. He moved like he was going to swing for her
healed.
head, so she crouched, but in a lightning-fast swipe, he swung for her leg instead and slashed her across the knee. More blood burst from her and painted the ground. His angelic weapon made her flesh sizzle. Even in his bizarre realm, Viv doubted Zoophiathan had a weapon that could pull off an angelic cut like that.
Oh,
This
completely.
had to be the real Clayton. She may not have minded pain anymore, but that didn't make Viv immune to slaughter at Clayton's hands. She let her wings carry her off the ground out of his reach.
Yeah, there's a difference of being used to pain and immune to pain, and no one is ever immune to pain.
Seriously, Clayton, I was just trying to scare Zoophiathan. I'm still on the Coalition's side. I'm still trying to kill demons. The ground suddenly moved up towards Viv, getting Clayton
Good
back
action
within
talk.
reach of her.
Heat of the moment.
I don't care how many demons you kill, that doesn't mean you're not one. He raised his weapon again. Viv let her body fully shift into him and Ep10, and she tore her stinger out to use as a sword. She raised it and blocked his strike, but he hit hard enough to knock her arm down, then hammered the butt of his sword into her face. He thrust his sword at her head and she just barely moved aside. Unfortunately, when he yanked it back towards himself, he moved it closer and cut right across her neck. Orange blood and flaky ash burst off her.
Oh,
She
damn,
felt
that
her head
hurts.
go fuzzy. Oh, seriously, Clayton, what is wrong with you? You're just doing what Zoophiathan wants. I'm the Coalition's best bet at killing him and he knows it. Plus, Commander Wiggins may not like what I'm doing, but she has to know that I'm trying to do the right thing. If you kill me, there's no way she lets you stay on as a hunter. Clayton swung again and again, and Viv barely managed to block the swipes with her own blade. She tried flying up away again, but once more the ground moved with her. Clayton snarled.
Damn it,
Too
Clayton.
late there, Sabraya. Tamika canned me a week ago. He stabbed at her, high enough to
Oh.
the right that she should have known it was a fake-out. She blocked the blade, but that left her other side wide open. He reached his arm up
He was fired a week ago. Well, shit.
and caught one of her wings. He ripped it down towards himself, spun his blade around her head, and slashed part of it off. Even Viv couldn't enjoy the pain of that swipe, and she shrieked in agony. She clamped her mouth shut quickly, not wanting to give Clayton any satisfaction. He didn't appear to have any. He just looked cold and relentless as he steadied his weapon again. Wiggins was going soft on you. She still planned to keep you on as a hunter after Mara took fear to that stupid attempt at a rehab center for freaks like her. I said if you ever stepped inside the Coalition again, I'd cut your throat the second you did. That was the end of my time
Clayton.
with the Coalition right there. It was overdue anyway. Means I don't have to hold back anymore on demons like you and Kushmara. Despite the danger, Viv's
Clayton, you've officially become a tool for the demons. You're killing someone that can literally fight the demons better than most hunters. Well, and instead of teaming up with her or just being a freelance guy, I don't know. Oh, you're instead, harming humanity.
stomped closer. How can you still want to hurt Mara? She's literally dedicating her life right now to saving the entire multiverse from demons. He swung his sword and she raised to block, but he shifted his aim and struck her fingers, slashing two of them off and making her drop her blade. A demon is a demon no matter who they are or what they've done. You can't change what you are, and demons are monsters. Vivian stumbled back from him. The only monsters here are Zoophiathan and you, Clayton. You betrayed Capri, you betrayed Koshmara, and you'll kill good people just out of pure stubbornness.
Oh,
Clayton
yeah.
leapt forward and swung his blade. Viv tried to duck back, but was still slashed across the cheek, making her spin and fall to the ground. Clayton's knuckles went white as he gripped his sword tighter. "Oh, I'm the monster," says the demon who's working with fear herself. How many people has she tortured and killed through her demons? How much pain has she brought the world? How many of our friends' lives has she taken? She killed my dad, she tried to kill me, she tried to kill Tamika and her daughter, all that and so much more, and you chose to work with her. How profoundly brainless can you be to think she's less of a monster than me?
You have
Nobody
some
who's done what she's done can redeem themselves, and giving her the space to even pretend to try is a moronic and dangerous waste of time.
Dresden, Oakland, hello, the founder of the RAS Foundation, and the dude literally killed multiverses, I believe. And he's trying to redeem himself. He literally founded the foundation that would redeem Fear herself because he wanted redemption.
He raised his sword, but Viv fired a dart from her palm into his ankle. He tried to swing anyway, but she shot another farther up his leg and made him collapse on one side. She got up and backed away. You want to know why Arava is worthy of redemption? She actually wants to change. Arava may be a mess, but she knows she's a mess, and she's trying her hardest not to be. She wants to make up for all the awful things she's done. She's going to redeem herself one day because she knows she has to. You, on the other hand, you're nothing like her because you pretend that every horrible thing you've ever done is justified, and you just keep going on doing them. You may not have done things nearly as bad as Arava, but you're the one who's irredeemable, not her.
That is
Viv
actually
could have
very
sworn
true.
in that moment she saw something flash behind Clayton's eyes. It was a fraction of a second, but it looked like genuine sadness or fear or regret. But it was the
something.
briefest flash before Clayton ripped the darts from his leg and marched towards her again. I don't care what a demon thinks of me, least of all a dead demon.
Damn it, Clayton. Don't be a stubborn jackass. Come on now. Oh, just stop.
He stabbed his sword towards her once again. Viv clenched her teeth, dodged slightly to the side, but let the weapon pierce through her torso. She grabbed Clayton's arm before he
Looks like it's time to see Zoophiathan once again.
could pull the blade out and fired 4 needles into him. His hand went numb and he released the blade. Viv headbutted him with her crusted demon scalp. Blood burst from his nose and he stumbled backwards. While he was dazed, she fired 6 more shots into his body. He should have collapsed to the ground, but he remained upright, raised his fists, and started marching towards her again. On partially torn
So he walks like a tripod.
wings,
Okay.
she zipped backwards through the air to get some distance. Just fall down and stay down, Clayton. She ripped the sword out of her side and could feel her vision going fuzzy. She wasn't going to be up much longer herself. She fired a few more shots at Clayton. He dodged some, but others pierced into his flesh and made him stumble more and more. Still, he marched forwards. His words slurred as he said, You're dying today, not me, demon. Vivian snorted. Neither of us is dying today, Clayton. A voice bellowed around them both.
Oh, here we go.
Well, that's not entirely true.
A flash of white and black swiped behind Clayton. The sound of a slice rang like an alarm through the void. Clayton finally fell to his knees, with Vivian's stinger pierced right through his heart.
Oh no!
He fell onto his side, wheezing. Blood poured from his mouth onto the ground, which started shifting from black to white. Viv ran over to him and dropped to her knees. Clayton, breathe! Viv thought she hated Zoophiathan before, but forcing her to help Clayton took him to a whole other level. With what little of his strength he had left, Clayton tried to reach up and grab his sword from Viv. He gripped the blade, cutting his own palm open, but still tried to yank it away from her. Are you kidding me, Clayton? Stop it! In anger, she yanked the blade back and cut a massive slice into his hand. He groaned faintly in pain and his arm dropped. I'm sorry, you made me do that. How can you be such a jerk even when dying? Vivian? A familiar, angelic voice spoke and made Vivian look up from Clayton. She finally noticed that the void was gone. She and Clayton were both back in the snowy Colorado woods. Capri stood before her, and a few feet across from him was Commander Wiggins. She and 2 other coalition hunters stood in the snow, staring down at Vivian and the near-lifeless body of Clayton. Blood dripped from all across him. A dozen of Vivian's needles riddled his body, and her blade was pierced through him. Vivian leapt up.
Oh,
Wait, Tamika, I
crap.
swear this isn't what it looks like. Tamika leapt down to Clayton's side, tore off her jacket, and folded it under his head. Doesn't matter what happened right now. What matters is getting him help. Stay with us, you grumpy snow scalp.
Oh,
Use all
thank
that
God.
stubbornness you got to keep yourself awake. You got it, Costas?
Yes.
Copry jumped down next to her. He yanked out the blade and put his hands on either side of the wound. Gold and green light illuminated from him. But Clayton wasn't looking any better. I can feel his soul slipping away. Even I may not be able to heal his body from this. Clayton started trying to mutter something, but it was little more than a senseless groan. His eyes fluttered shut, and all the tension in his body started to fade as he went limp. Tamika gently slapped his face. Hey, stay with us, Costas. You may look like you're 80, but you're actually too young to die. Come on. I may like you about as much as stepping on my girl's Legos on my way to the bathroom at night, but you've saved enough lives alongside me to be worth saving yourself.
Yeah,
As they
come
tried
on.
to keep him alive, Vivian glanced down at the Demonatrix. She could sense that it would work for her again. An idea came to her instantly, but it may have been more stupid than helpful.
Oh,
I
wait a
think
minute.
I might be able to save him. Sort of, Viv said as confident.
Oh no, please tell me I'm wrong in my idea. Please, Vivian, please tell me you are not thinking of turning Clayton into a demon general under you, using the Demonatrix. It's like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, the Demonatrix can rival even Zoophiathan, and meaning by using its powers on someone else, so you could, in a way, create your own demon general. Please tell me that's not what I'm thinking. Please tell me I'm wrong.
Confidently as she could.
Please.
Tamika and Copry both looked up at her. This ain't the time to be timid, girl. Speak your mind fast or he's a goner, Viv said through gritted teeth. When I was basically killed by a demon, my soul had slipped away too. But I was able to come back because Arava, well, you know. Copry's jaw dropped.
Son of a damn it, I'm right.
Vivian, in the form of a demon general, you may be able to do what you're suggesting, but that doesn't make it a good idea. More confidently, assuring herself that it was the right thing every second, Vivian said, Well, it's the only idea we've got. Plus, it makes sense. Clayton is the most stubborn person on the planet, and he hates demons more than anyone. Tamika jumped to her feet. Would you two stop being cryptic and actually say what you mean? Viv nodded. Part of her felt it was the right thing to do to help him,
Well,
but
all right.
at the same time, she
I
also
called
saw
it.
it as incredibly fitting revenge for how he'd treated her,
Damn it.
Mara, and Copry. Viv said, I'll need Arava to tell me what to do, but Clayton's soul will definitely return to his body to take control if I turn him into a demon.
I hate that I called it. Damn it. Why did I see that twist coming? Oh, because I watched stuff like this and I could see it.
Some of the art that I covered today was heavily inspired by my Absolute Illustrator Reacts episode that I made recently. And honestly, I've been getting tons
I was literally just about to say that. Definitely that fuss panel.
of inspiration from the stuff I've covered in Illustrator React since I rebooted it earlier this year. So if you haven't checked out that series and you want some good art inspiration, I highly recommend it. Anyway, besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note. And the thought I want to leave people with today is just a reminder that your mind is always telling you stories. Telling you stories about how different situations have gone down, who you are, what other people think of you. And it's important to remember that these stories are not always true. In fact, a lot of the time they're not. Our brain is filling in gaps based on our past experiences, and a lot of times based on negative past experiences, trying to protect us from what may happen. So if your mind is telling you some kind of negative story over and over again, try and take a moment to pause it and think, do I actually know this is true?
Read it,
There's
yes.
a very good chance you'll find that you don't. And you could start telling yourself a story about how things could end up going way better than you can even imagine. I hope that's inspiring. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Friday. Goodbye.
Alright everyone, and that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.